Where'd you get these power suits?
Made them. All the Nazi generals have these nowadays, so you will need it.
Holy fucking shit.
Wolfenstein Youngblood came out a couple of weeks ago, and I've got to admit, it's taken me a couple of weeks to get into this game for a couple of reasons. One of them is that I heard a lot of negative buzz about this, that this is a little bit more of a games-as-service model, sort of in the shoes and the sort of ripples of something like The Division or Destiny, where you have a hub world and you go off on a bunch of missions and you see a lot of the same areas over again. I was like, well, that doesn't sound like the Wolfenstein that I know and love. But also, I was having some issues running this game in 4K resolution on my PS4 Pro. I see little white dots in the black areas of my screen. It's hard for me to kind of replicate that with the footage that we're providing, but the way that I had to avoid it was dumb my visuals down to 1080p. It's not that big of a deal, but I was just surprised that I had any kind of an issue there at all.
That's what we got.
You play as BJ Blazkowicz's twin daughters, who are both lethal weapons.
Fuck yeah!
They have these cool skin-tight suits that give them armor protection and a little bit of flair as well. And then you've got abilities like the double jump, which is something that's available to you right from the get-go. And you do some jumping puzzles in this game from first person, which can be a bit of a challenge for people out there for sure. And my mobility, I think, was the thing that I latched onto the most with this game. I just loved playing as these characters. Super, super fast and fluid and fun, and you dole out punishment in wonderful ways. You can also upgrade your character's abilities so that you have more health or more armor, carry heavier weapons, you can keep your stealth running for a little bit longer. You've got a choice at the beginning of the game where you can choose to have a stealth option that lets you go invisible for a bit, or you can use the crush option, which lets you power through doors or power through bad guys in some pretty cool and devastating ways. And then, of course, you are packed with all kinds of fantastic Nazi-killing weaponry, which isn't quite the star of the show. I think the freedom and the mobility and the verticality that the game provides is really the star of the show, because we've seen a lot of these weapons before, although it is super fun to slice through giant, rampaging Nazi robot dogs with laser guns. It's really cool. It's fun to blast away at Nazi Terminators. It's fun to chip away at the armor on these big hulking Nazi brutes that are coming at you, and they just seem impervious, and then you find the right sort of weapon combination, and ping, 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 little pieces of armor go off, and then finally their helmet, and finally you get that headshot, and that Nazi crumples to the floor. It does feel, though, however, that the game is really pushing that "isn't it fun to kill Nazis" button, you know? And that's always been the case with Wolfenstein, for sure, especially the more recent ones, and there couldn't be a better time to go hunting Nazis in video games.
Let's go!
But I don't know if this game provides something that is extraordinarily different from a lot of the free-to-play kind of action-based cooperative stuff that's out there. I keep thinking of Apex Legends, which of course has a beautiful fluidity. There's all kinds of incredible mobility and weaponry and cooperative fun to be had in a game like Apex Legends, and it doesn't cost you a dime. This does cost you some money, although it's not a full-price game. It's going to cost, you know, around 50 bucks, and then one of the cool things that they've done here is they've given you a buddy pass so you can share this game with somebody and play through it cooperatively together. That's the whole emphasis on this title, is that you're playing with somebody else, whether it's an AI-controlled bot or another player that you can invite from a public kind of space, or you create your own sort of private environment and invite somebody in.
Let me show you something.
I tried a little bit of all of it. I have to admit that I enjoyed it as a single-player game, too. It's a weird setup. You can't just choose, I want to play single-player. You have to go into host a match, and then you don't invite anybody, basically, and then you just start the game. And your sister is controlled by the computer and functionally operates very similarly to you, puts all the onus on you to kind of take down the bosses and beat the Nazis in a nice progressive order so that you're getting the level ups and all the loot that you want so that you can keep progressing into the game.
You should indulge in every moment.
It was also incredibly fun. I played with Ungerbar Plays, Hunter actually, who came on to EP Live and did a great job in front of the audience playing the game on stage. He actually joined me online. He's much farther into the game than I am, so he was just slashing through all kinds of big bads and helping me out in some big ways. Knew lots of nooks and crannies and different alleyways to get lost in and fight our way out of. There's no big map that you get when you enter into a world. You get the little mini maps, so there are some confusing elements about which corner you take, where you go. And if you take the wrong corner, you're going to run into Nazis that are much more overpowered than you are, and they're going to take you down. And there's a ruthlessness to this game.
Good luck.
I played it with Blake as well, who was at a lower level than I was, and we were having all kinds of difficulty facing up against Nazis that were my level, so he was getting mowed down with 1 or 2 shots, and I would last for a little while, but then I didn't have my buddies, so I was getting slaughtered as well. I love the stylings of this game, as I have the previous Wolfenstein games. I love the sci-fi 80s kind of pop-punk vibe throughout this whole thing. I like the attitude of B.J. Blazkowicz's daughters.
Can't you just enjoy life for a second, Jess?
You don't get a lot of story in this title. I think it's really a test that Bethesda is putting out there to see how they can extrapolate the Wolfenstein brand and different ways that they can engage gamers. This does feel like they're edging towards some kind of a free-to-play games-as-service model with this franchise. You know, in the context of other great games that are free-to-play, that offer a lot of similar things, this doesn't feel as great of a deal, and I'm certainly aware that a lot of people out there that wanted a single-player story campaign like they've had with the previous couple of Wolfenstein titles.
You guys are weird.
It's not the same as the previous Wolfenstein games. I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. I think it's okay to kind of extend this universe. It's a super cool one. I had fun, and I'm going to keep playing this game for sure, but I don't know if it resonates like Machine Game's first couple of kicks at Wolfenstein have. I'm going to give Wolfenstein Youngblood an 8 out of 10.